welcome to the London Summit website. At the start of April, leaders from around the world will meet in London to continue the work that we began in Washington last year. We are determined to tackle the effects of the global credit crunch, determined to work together to help people through the economic downturn, determined to ensure hope for the future by investing now to secure jobs, stability and growth. And this website will be a hub for debate about all aspects of the London Summit, explaining how the decisions made at the negotiating table will affect your life and the lives of families, businesses and communities around the world. So I encourage you to visit the website and to stay in touch with this crucial debate about our global future.
There needs to be some announcement, at least symbolic, at the G20 summit that the G20 countries are committed to governance reform at the IMF and World Bank.
Today we're publishing this document, The Road to the London Summit, which you should all have a copy of now. Our priority is the needs of hardworking families in our country and in every country of the world. People who are worried about the mortgages, people who are worried about their jobs, people who are worried that small business finance is not available, people who are worried that the banking system that they have relied upon for years is not sufficiently secure for them.
The huge industrial revolution that is unfolding in converting our economy to low carbon is going to present huge business and employment opportunities, as well as enabling us to meet our climate change targets and to reduce our energy consumption and to make that both more efficient and less costly, which again business will benefit from. Now, what government has to do is to set the targets, create the markets, put the regulatory frameworks in place so that people have that certainty and predictability in the future.
The United Kingdom will take into that summit a commitment to ensure that global efforts to address the economic challenges facing the world economy include key support for the poorest countries. Together we can ensure that this is the first recession in history where we consciously address the needs of the poor.
We can deal with the symptoms of poverty through charity, the hunger, partially we can deal with the symptoms, the hunger, the lack of education, the lack of opportunity, but the structures of poverty are politics and economic.
It would be a huge mistake, I think, if countries didn't accept that this is one of those few occasions that occur in a century where action is needed immediately, and we need to take action together, and it can make a real difference to the people who sent us here.
The truth of the matter is that as the financial markets have impacted on the real economy in the developed world, that has impacted on the real economy in Africa, where that which we produce, largely still commodities, have not found a market.
I think that protectionism is a problem in many of the consuming countries that are markets for India, and India is becoming protectionist as a result of that.
It is very important for the G20 meeting here in London to recognize that the policy responses should have at least three pillars: the financial pillar to restore credit, the fiscal stimulus pillar, but also a labor market pillar to cushion the impacts and to mitigate the effects and to lay the foundations for more employment and growth in the future.
I think there is a great convergence between the United States and Europe about the need to respond to this crisis in several areas, including the need for financial regulation and better supervision of the financial markets. At the same time, a sustained effort to the economic recovery through a fiscal stimulus.
At the top of the agenda, they should sort out the bank's crisis. They need to sort out the market economy first because of the impact it has lower down on the social scale, not just for investment bankers.
Global poverty rather than the problem for rich people in the Western world.
I think what this financial crisis has shown is that capitalism itself is unsustainable. Endless investment and reinvestment, made-up money that's created on computer screens is not a way to run a world economy.
In order to make this change happen, and in order for all of us internationally to come out of this recession most healthily, we also have got to look at our decision makers. And we've got a crisis amongst our decision makers. We're not sharing governance between women and men as we should be. And I think the time now is for governments internationally to look at measures to fast-track women into those senior decision-making positions.
As you know, most of the focus on this crisis has been on developed countries. But now it is time to look and see the developing countries who have been if you will, who did not contribute to this crisis but are having to pay the costs. Let's highlight what is happening in their countries. Let's highlight what is happening to our women and children who are caught up in this crisis. And beyond highlighting it, let's find solutions.
Clearly it's an unprecedented set of circumstances that we're seeing at the moment, and it would be wrong for any of us to say that business isn't affected. I think what we need to see happening now, particularly from the G20 leaders, is strong leadership and actually a real feeling that we can move forward and get through the crisis at the moment.
We're seeing ahead of the summit like two different approaches from rich countries. The US saying that more stimulus, more borrowing should be needed, pumping more money into the system, but European countries saying that it's probably not necessary to do so much so.
What can these countries do themselves between now and the summit, both to influence the global debate in the run-up to the summit and also to mitigate the impact of the crisis on their own economies?
Well, I've been to Africa and Latin America with the message of, come up with as specific ideas as possible, feed them in through the Sherpa process as early as possible so that there's a chance for other countries to respond to them.
I think this global crisis has demonstrated to politicians around the world that more than ever before we need to talk with each other and work together. And this isn't a crisis that is confined to one continent. We're all affected in different ways across the globe.
The leaders who are gathering will represent 85% of the world's income. And they have to make sure that they speak for 100% of the world's people, especially those in the poorest countries who, through no fault of their own, could end up suffering the greatest losses as a result of this economic crisis.
There is no magic wand. This half-wit has not got a magic wand that's going to go bing and make everything better. Just like when you're a little kid, mum used to put you on a knee and rub your knee. It's not going to happen. There is a lot of things that need to be done. But the most important thing, and I've been harping on this for a while now, is we've really got to focus on jobs. Jobs give confidence. Confidence gives rise to spending and people planning. And that reflates the economy. And without that, we're going to be in serious trouble.